It'll be all right.
All right, we are live.
Hey everybody, it is Thursday and it's guest night here at the Horror Syndicate Discourse. And if you're hearing me,
Yes, we have
okay.
audio.
We've got a couple. Well, it's an interesting thing that Nathan brought kind of to the table that he thought had been done, but has not. So this is awesome. We've got two guys who've played Freddy in not two, but fan films. They're fan favorites. My goodness. Of course, Nathan directed Kevin Roach in Confession of Fred Krueger, which is available on YouTube, and it's worth the half an hour that it runtime. And I only say that because I've seen other fan films that are not worth the 5 minutes. But on the other side, we've got, and I don't know if this, I'm really worried about ruffling feathers here. Got two Freddys in one place. You know how that might be dangerous. The other side, we've got Roberto Lombardi, who's played Freddy. How many times have you played Freddy now?
6 Krueger films, 1 Nightmare Ends on Halloween film, and a Deadpool fan film. So 7 times, 8 times.
8 times. My goodness. And yeah, he's a fan favorite for sure. I've seen 6 or so of them, and I read a lot of the comments, and well, both of you guys are really loved with the Elm Street community, which is awesome because, you know, when any talk of a remake comes up, it's not going to be good unless Robert's in it. Well, you guys have proven that that's not true. So welcome. I'm glad you're here. And of course, we've got the rest of the cast, Nate and Keith and Seth and Jared. Yeah, whoever. Anyway, and myself. But we're here to talk about your guys' movies, talk to you guys about other things you've done, because being known as Freddy's great, but there are other things that you do. I mentioned off the air, Kevin again was in another thing Nate did with Volumes of Blood, Encyclopedia Satanica, which is the standout piece in that movie, in my opinion. Not just because Nate keeps paying me under the table. It's true.
It's in the mail.
It's 2020. It's PayPal time. Come on. None of this mail stuff. So anyway,
got my germs on it.
What's that?
You get my germs with it. So,
true. Get them Louisville germs. Oh,
yeah.
Sorry. Anyway, let's get into this conversation. I'm anxious to see how you guys were able to channel Fred. First of all, you both played kind of differently, but the same in a way. Like, I noticed, I think, Kevin, you really channeled Fred, not Robert. Now, and then Roberto, you look like a lot like Robert. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing.
It's both.
Okay. So I mean, you guys bring a lot to the table. Nathan, this is all you, man. How do you want to start? I really want to get into how you guys got into that mindset, really, of a child. I'm gonna go child murderer today. I'm gonna be friendly here, not say the nasty stuff. Kevin, let's talk about that for a minute with you, and then we'll move on to Roberto. How did you get into the mindset of playing such a nasty person?
Well, it gave me an excuse to go kind of have a movie marathon.
Yeah.
It had been a little while since I'd seen some of the Nightmare films in the franchise. So I kind of did my research again, because some of them I hadn't seen in a while. But as far as getting in that character, I tend to do a lot more stage work than I do film work. I do a lot of plays. And I've been cast as the bad guy a lot. Apparently I play evil really well. I don't know. But I have a process, and it's a pretty ugly place to go to. I mean, obviously when you're, I don't like to use the term method. I hate that term, but I do kind of channel any kind of anger or hatred I may have that I can use for that. I've never wanted to murder a child. But there definitely there's definitely some people that I'm like, it could be fun in my mind, and so I kind of went there with that. And it's almost like whenever I talk in those monologues, I've told Nathan 100 times when I watch it, it's like watching somebody else entirely, because I would almost have to just kind of take a back seat and just kind of let whatever comes out of my mouth come out of my mouth. And you know, some of the takes that ended up in the final film were just random disgusting moments that happened that I didn't plan, if that makes any sense. And those are, to me, those are kind of like the shining moments as an actor, as those moments that you don't really plan. You know, they just come out. But I did make sure that when we were shooting with the kids, that I had a good relationship with them. I wanted to make sure that they knew that I wasn't some scary psychopath. And then I would distance myself after I got to know them. Like, I did a show here, a play here where I'm from, where I had to basically play this school shooter's inner voice. And there were a lot of kids in it, and young teenagers, all the way down to like age 8, I think. And so like I would spend a lot of time with them, like playing and discussing prior to, but the moment like we were getting ready to go in, I would just separate myself from them and go into whatever mindset. So that was, to me, the most important, was establishing with them that I'm not this character. But, you know, as an actor, I do go through a visionary process. You know, I see the things in my mind, but when it comes to that, there is a limit. You have to draw a line. But I mean, it seems like it turned out okay. I'm my own worst critic. I'll look at my work every day and be like, no, I could have done that so much better. But yeah, it was less about, and with that one, it was less about trying to imitate Robert and more kind of coming up with my own version while still paying homage to what Robert has done, because obviously he has built this wonderful legacy that is Freddy. So we didn't want to wipe that out completely. But Nathan really encouraged me. He's like, you know, I want you to kind of play with it a little bit and try your own thing. So sorry, I ramble.
No.
Oh yeah,
Good, it's good.
So did you surprise yourself with your performance?
Yeah, a lot. In fact, watching it, there are moments that I just really didn't remember doing. Like the Lito Velasco did our score for that. There's a moment where I asked for a cigarette and I say, I just want one. And then I smile, and he added that nice little ting in the music. And that was one of those things that I just did on set. And that's something I do kind of in real life when I'm like angry, but I'm being sarcastic. So I'm like, oh, that's really great. Yeah. And so like I did it in the film, and it ended up looking really, really good. But just like for instance, there was one point where am I allowed to cuss? Can I cuss?
Yeah, cuss away.
Okay.
Say whatever.
Yeah.
I work with high school students, so this ended up coming back to haunt me, because of course they find this stuff on YouTube.
They cuss though. Come on, everybody cusses these days.
But there was a point where, keep in mind, like I'm actually handcuffed during this entire thing with police issue handcuffs. Like the whole time I am handcuffed to a table. They are not comfortable. And I kept screwing up this line, or something kept going wrong. And the line was, I don't need your help, asshole. And I got really pissed at myself, at the situation, at whatever. And it came out, I don't need your fucking help, asshole. And then immediately I'm like, oh, Nathan, I'm so sorry. And it ended up staying in the film. And my high school kids now have a button on their phone that anytime I'm like, hey, can you guys help? They're like, boop. And
that's awesome. That's amazing. For them.
I am your instructor. Let's not. But that was a completely, like, I can honestly say I don't remember what the situation was, but I was legitimately pissed off. So when I said fuck, you know, I really was angry about it.
It played really well too, that scene. That sounds more like something Freddie would say. Add that extra little fuck in there, you know.
Yeah.
It's a good performance. And I remember I didn't know Nathan when I saw it, and it kind of struck me when I saw it. I was like, damn. And I had never seen a Freddie fan film at all. This was on the heels of seeing Never Hike Alone, I think, for the first time. Then I started really delving in, and then eventually I found Roberto's work, on YouTube as well. And I mean, the first thing that I noticed, and I want to get into how your headspace as well, was how close you look to Robert. But yeah,
That's why I got cast.
it's not my acting skills. No, it's just the look alone.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you do. You got that very close to the iconic look of Freddy without, heavy makeup on or anything like that. But tell us a bit about how you got into the character and his psyche.
Listening to Kevin's story, it's actually kind of similar to my own. Some subtle differences. The first film that I did was in 2011, and for better or worse, sometimes I think worse, sometimes I think better. We really tried to have the character match as closely as possible to Robert, which kind of set a tone for the rest of the series. But we kind of realized right away after the first one that dyeing my hair a lighter color and me doing a lot of Robertisms is just, and there's nothing wrong with cosplaying before I say this, but it seemed like almost cosplay to us in a way. As much as I love the film, I think I could have dialed that back a little bit. Getting into the headspace for it, I, like Kevin, also wind up getting cast as the bad guy. I don't know why, probably because I have shifty eyes. He's got that voice, so I'm sure that has a lot to do with it for him, but I've got the shifty eyes and can go like this real well. Yeah. So I tend to get that. But for Freddy, shockingly, I didn't want to just flat out copy Robert as we were getting into it. So for me to get into it, I thought the best thing for me to do was I studied kind of what sadists and masochists were like psychologically, because Freddy's kind of a bit of both. And I also studied, when I was in college, I had a class called Sociology of Sex Offenders, which if you don't want to label Freddy as a sex offender, you don't have to, but he did abuse children. So what I did is I took all of that, and then instead of looking at the kids on set as kids, I figured Freddy would look at them as objects. So I kind of, every time I worked with a kid, and I worked with 5 kids in our series, I did the same thing that Kevin did. Their parents were on set. I got to know the kids so that they knew that I wasn't this lunatic that was going to actually hurt them. And, then I did the same thing. I would go away, and then I would get into my mindset of, these are objects that I'm going to use the way I want to use them. And that's how I would approach the character and his relationship to the kids.
Yeah, there was one scene, and it was the one with the girl on the swing. Yeah, boy, you were creepy in that scene. I mean, that worked really well, and the way the dialogue played so well that you were trying to figure out her name. Yeah, and it grossed me out a little bit, to be honest. But the way you played it was very, very, very almost perfect. Well, especially if it grossed me out, because it takes a lot. So
that was the intent of that. Yeah. That was not supposed to be. And we've said this a lot, our director, Chris Notarilli, people ask him, "Oh, I love Freddy. He's so great." And he'll say, "Well, why do you love Freddy?" He abducts children and kills them. But the whole point, you're talking about the second film, Another Tale from Elm Street, where that was classic, stalking a child. That should have, anybody who has kids should have been horrified by that, because it showed an adult male manipulating a young child into telling her his name, into going with him, lying to her that her mother was in trouble. And she does everything right. She says no. I don't know how many times in the movie the kid says no, but he still winds up manipulating her to go with him. Yeah. It's a little psychological. It should have scared people. It should have made people's stomach turn to see that.
Yeah, it did. It might have been my favorite of the bunch that I watched. Seth, you got the chance to watch a bunch of these today. Do you have anything you want to add to any questions or anything?
Nothing that I can think of. I mean, both of you guys, I really liked what you guys did with the character. And, especially with, just not too long ago, I saw a post that went on a group page about, Kevin Bacon possibly playing Freddy, and reading the comments and all the fans saying, oh no, only Robert Englund can play Freddy. And then, I look at what you guys do and I see where the character can go on and he can be played by someone else. And you guys both did a great job. I don't really have much for questions, but just want to compliment you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, and what Roberto was talking about, I already kind of have a weird fascination with like true crime and serial killers and stuff. So that was definitely something I kind of took into mind, because I think I noticed right off the bat, like I'm reading the script, I'm like, that's a Charles Manson quote. Like, I'm like, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, when I heard that quote, when I heard Manson say that, I said, that's Freddy Krueger. That's totally who he is. And so I included it. A lot of people call it out. Oh, you're ripping off. Like, well, in The Devil's Rejects, Otis is quoting Tex Watson, and there's like it's just kind of an homage. Like the people who catch it are, they're gonna say, oh, you stole that. But that was the whole thing. When I heard Manson say that, I said, that's Freddy Krueger in a nutshell to me. I'm a hobo. I'm a nobody. I'm a was a boxcar and a jug of wine, but I'm straight razor if you get too close to me.
Yeah.
Like
that's
me,
not a ripoff.
Robert.
That's not a ripoff, though. That's a pop culture reference.
Yeah, it's all it was.
That's. I liked it. I thought it was good.
Well, and I always tell because I work with students and of course adult actors, and I always tell them anytime there's like a bad guy role, it helps that, I have the raspy voice, and especially if I talk down in my throat register, it gets more fun. But I said, granted, it's way more broad than this, but in a nutshell, I said, you have two choices. Either you're the villain, the antagonist that truly believes what they're doing is right and will accomplish that goal no matter the cost, because they genuinely believe that they are in the right, or they don't care. They're a complete sociopath. They just don't care. And I mean, granted, that's a very, very generalized way of explaining it, but usually when if I direct a play, I do a lot of directing, and there's a character in there that's a killer or whatever, I'll say, well, what's going on? Are you doing this because you think that there's a point to it, or are you doing it because you don't care and you want to see what happens? And they go like, I don't know, I have to think about this. And so I just did in October production of Lord of the Flies, and those poor little old ladies clutching their pearls. I made it basically a horror movie on stage, using real 12, 13, 14-year-olds, speared a kid through the head, and it was such a simple trick, but it looked so effective. That was conversations I had with them, was like, are you doing this because you truly believe your way is the right way, or are you doing it just because you don't care? And their choices dictated kind of how they played it. And that's kind of how I played it with, I don't think he thinks anything he's doing is right. He's just pissed off and he doesn't care. It's an experiment. It's a game. It's almost fun, if you will. Just more on that topic.
It makes sense. I mean, it's just like when you were saying they don't care at all. I mean, it's like the Joker. Like he just wants to watch the world burn. Like he has no rhyme or reason. He's just anarchy in a bottle.
Freddy's definitely that. I think Freddy knows what he's doing isn't right, is definitely against the grain and not the norm and frowned upon in society, but he doesn't care. I've always felt that Freddy just had it in his head, I'm going to do what I want, when I want, to whomever I want, and try and catch me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And with our script, I mean, it was the dialogue was already written so well, but you watch the movies and he really has goals, and he's in it for the long haul. I think that when he gets defeated at the end of each movie, it's genuinely a surprise, oh my gosh, somebody overthrew my plans. And so maybe it's a thing that only I noticed, but I kind of went into it with this whole idea of, I don't know exactly how I'm going to get out of this room, but I'm going to get out of this room. the matches, that comes into play. But like, I made sure that I was going to play it that way with the, I am 100% confident that I can say whatever I want in this room and I'm going to walk out of here. And the actor sitting across from me, poor guy, I am really anal retentive about eye contact. And so I don't think I broke eye contact with him during the entire thing, unless Nathan was addressing me. And then I would just go right back to him and stare him in the face the whole time. And he's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I'm fine. I'm just not, I want to make you uncomfortable. That is the goal."
Yeah, and it worked because he was terrified. He said, "She's creeping the shit out of me." and like you said, like you said, you didn't recognize yourself. I mean, I know you as big-hearted human being. You're just a lovely person, and we're sitting there watching you perform. I don't remember what scene it was, but John, who was one of the PAs, is sitting over here, and I'm behind the camera. I'm across from the table watching you deliver a monologue, and it's like, I don't know who that is. Like, I forgot I was on a movie set. I forgot that I was watching an actor perform. I felt like I was watching a fucking psychopath just right across. Like, and I say, I don't need. And the guy looks over me. He's like, "Oh my God." I'm like, I know. Like, so that's what I mean, that's, to me, that's what Freddy is. Like you said, like the biggest inspiration for this, because I really got into serial killer true crime too back in the 90s, because I was right. Of course, that was a big thing when Silence of the Lambs came out. It was right around the time Dahmer was arrested. So like there was like this explosion of true crime and serial murder investigation. I read John Douglas's books and Harold Schechter's books, and Ed Gein, Albert Fish, and all that. So, I read so much of that stuff for a comic book I was doing that it made me physically ill. I had to stop. I can't read any more of this shit. But one of the big influences on Confession was the Richard Kuklinski documentary from HBO at that time, the Iceman Confessions. And like you were talking about, like, because I remember watching him, as a mafia hitman, and he was a sociopath. He had no problem. Like there was one story he told. He would tell stories about these moments of violence, these moments of murder, and there was nothing there. There was no feeling, but it was like you said, almost a power. Like I could do whatever. Like Roberto said, I can do whatever I want, and I'm not. There's no like they said in Hannibal Lecter and Silence of the Lambs, like his blood pressure never got over 85 because it doesn't affect them. It doesn't. It's like it's just this was I do. So like there was a story where Richard said that these guys were fucking with him, and he was just driving home. And he goes, "They wanted to play. I didn't want to play." So I pulled over. They pulled up, started shit talking me, all that. I opened the trunk. I pulled a shotgun out and shot them. And that was it, because they wanted to play. I didn't want to play. And that's the kind of person you're dealing with. You're dealing with someone you don't understand what they're capable of. It doesn't matter how big they are, how scary looking they are, whatever. There is a line that they will cross that you're not prepared for, and you just walked into the wrong person. You underestimated this guy. So Freddy's that guy. He won't think twice to slit your throat just for looking at him wrong, or you said the wrong thing to him, or he just felt like it because it was that moment. And that's what's terrifying about that character, is that he is that dangerous. And that's what I really wanted in the film. Was I wanted you to watch Confession and go, I don't want to be in a room with this guy. I don't want to be sitting across from that guy. That's what I really wanted. But I wanted Freddy to be dangerous and not the hero. Like Roberto said, people said, what do you like about Freddy? I don't want you to like this guy. I want you to want him to be burned to death, because he fucking deserves it, because he's a terrible human being. And that's what I was hoping to get across from it.
Well, you did a good job with that, but even with Roberto's movies, you know where Freddy's going to be. And there's the scene where he's running through I don't know what it's called. I guess it's like a junkyard, chasing the kid around. You know? Yeah. And but then there's the part, I think it's the same one, where he's in the diner with his daughter. And
that's the next one.
Yeah. Okay. So, but the family, we know that he just took out their kid, and he's that's so fucked up. Though,
being all sympathetic.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, God, if they only knew what this guy is, and they'll find out.
It's good at being a wolf in sheep clothing.
Right. Yeah. Just like the scene with Marge Thompson. By the way, she was creepier than you were. Like watching that, I'm like, God, she is creepier than Freddy here. So she had it reminded me of the Black Hole Sun videos, Soundgarden, you know, where they had the big smiles. She had this big smile. We're thinking about naming her Nancy. I'm like, oh my goodness, who's the
She
killer
had to
here?
dub her voice. That's not the actress's voice. In
Really?
Yeah. I don't remember what the reasoning was, but our director Chris, his girlfriend at the time, actually redid all of the voice for her. A lot of that has been quite a few of our films where we had to go back, and just because a plane's flying by and you didn't want to, and just noises in general, and a lot of the dialogue got replaced. But yeah, we in fact, the whole second film with the girl in the swing, there isn't any dialogue that's live. It's all done in the studio.
Do you know the order in which to watch them? And
yes.
Why hasn't he put together like a supercut?
There is a supercut.
Oh, there is.
Well, first of all, if you go on YouTube, if you Google Krueger Tales from Elm Street, it has a playlist with them all in chronological order.
Yeah, that's how I was watching them.
And I had to dig through them.
Yeah, including the 2 trailers, and then a supercut edited one of the first 5 films is available on Vimeo or Vimeo. I don't know how to say that. The 6th one wasn't put in yet.
Gotcha.
That's cool.
I didn't even notice the voice being like dubbed in.
Yeah, I didn't either. I thought she was just creepy.
It worked on
it. Trying to get that inflection back in your voice again from doing it.
Did you guys film that scene in front of the house, or was that like another location?
No, that was the house.
Was it really? That's awesome.
Yeah, that was the house.
Man, you got to actually use the prop.
3 locations from the original films in our series. We used the house twice. We used Glenn's house once, and we used the police station once when Freddy gets out in the 5th movie. We're standing on the same steps as the police station from the movie.
Which was a school, right?
No, it's a library.
Yeah.
Library, yeah.
I
noticed the shot of you walking past the
all the different channels, flipping the channels. What, Nate?
I admit that.
How did you guys pull off the house though? Did you just do it like, let's shoot the scene real fast and get the hell out of here? Or
we got
permission.
Yeah, the scene was actually much longer than that. Funny story about that film is pretty much the whole film was Marge and Freddie in front of the house talking, and Chris edited it and sent it to me, and I said, I don't like this. And he goes, I thought it was just me, but we didn't like it. So we took the best parts of that and edited that down. And then I flew back to California, and 2 months later, and we shot extra scenes for it, and then put that film together. And that's how the Mikey storyline with chasing him in the garage came together, because we needed more for it. So out of a mistake came something that we both really, really liked. But yeah, we got permission to be there. We didn't want to be interrupted or told to leave or anything like that.
I was hoping the lady came like, what are you guys doing? Get off my lawn.
Those people are very used to people coming up to the house. Can I take a picture? Can I shoot something here? And they're very gracious about it.
I think I would be too if I owned that house, because that's on my bucket list. It got ruined this year. I was going to go out there, see the house, see the Myers house. It all got ruined thanks to you know what.
Yeah.
But, man, how did it feel being in front of that house and knowing who you were playing?
Absolutely surreal.
Yeah.
And I know I hate to say it, it sounds very cliche, like of course he's going to say that, but we got there. I'm in costume, which I actually have the costume behind me. And we're standing there and we're getting ready to do the dialogue, and all of a sudden I went, wait, this is the real house. And then, of course, it took a long time because people were driving by, and they saw a camera and they saw actors, and they kind of figured out what was going on. So, of course, you're getting beeping and, hey, Freddy, and stuff like that being yelled out in the middle of takes. And so it took a while to film it. But
that's cool.
Yeah, it was very weird. Every time that I've been there, it's been unusual.
That's awesome, though, man. Especially somebody yelling out, hey, Freddy, at you. And
yeah.
You get that a lot?
Yes. It's not an everyday occurrence or anything like
Right.
that, but if I go to Wizard World or I go to a convention or something like that, invariably somebody will yell, "Hey, Freddy."
That's cool. That's real cool.
It's nicer when they actually know my name too.
Well, you got a lot of fans. Both of you guys have a lot of fans that like you as the character. What about Kevin? Did you get recognized? Does anybody ever call you Freddy? I'm afraid to, because that place you went to in that movie.
I got recognized a couple times at one of the horror hounds I went to, and like I'm an extreme introvert. Like I know I got a lot of messages and friend requests on Facebook when it came out that I didn't, say yes to, just because I'm a very private person, and I'm also like I don't see it like they do, I guess. So like somebody came up to me and was like, "You're that guy that was in the Confession of Fred Krueger," and I'm just like baffled. I'm like, yeah, like it was. Oh, it's a big deal. Okay, cool. Like,
It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. And I don't mind talking to people one-on-one, because you can eventually part ways. But I had some weird experiences online, so I kind of stopped engaging those, after a while. But it was nice to get kind of recognized. Then, of course, I get recognized for, "You were the guy in that tentacle horror movie." I'm like, yeah, I was. But
I also get, "Weren't you in The Happening?" I'm like, "Yes, I was. How did you recognize me?" But yeah, I get that. And
wait, you were?
Yeah, I was.
How did I not know this? I haven't seen.
Well, I was younger and I had short hair and it was brown and no beard, and it was 2008.
Or the Freddy fame.
Yeah,
that's crazy. What other projects, Kevin, are you working on currently? Anything? Or, well, I guess not.
Yeah, not right now with everything going on. I've got a couple independent film things that friends are working on that might happen. We don't know. And mostly right now, I run a nonprofit theater company, so like a lot of my energy is being spent trying to make sure we survive that, because we haven't been able to really do anything in quite a long time. So any chance I get, so if somebody's doing a film, I'm excited to be a part of it whenever we can start filming. Because I, as a theater director, I don't get much of a chance to act anymore. So I kind of jump on the chance when I can. I think the last time I played a real nasty character is I got to be the lead character in the play version of Killer Joe. And I don't know how many of you have seen that movie. With Matthew McConaughey. It was a very disgusting scene involving oral sex on a chicken leg bone. That, it's one thing to film it for a camera. It's a complete whole other ballpark to do it live in front of an audience 20 feet away from their faces. So yeah, but right now with everything going on, there's not much to be working on.
That's true. What about you, Roberto? Anything that we're working on, maybe, or got something coming up? I mean, that's
in the
kind of a dumb
pipeline.
question, but...
Yeah. I was supposed to do an episode of this web series called Haunted City that the director of the Krueger films is doing. I was supposed to do that in May. That got canceled. So whenever we can shoot again in California, I would imagine we'll get back on that and do that episode or two that I was supposed to do. I had also started working on films for the Head Case series that director Anthony Spadaccini has done. He's going to do 2 more Head Case films, I believe, and another film in his Visceral series. And I started working on those. And of course, we got shut down. So I don't know when those are going to get back, in gear and going again. But I'm not playing the bad guy in those.
Oh.
I am actually playing a cop, because that's the only thing I get pretty much cast as. I don't get cast as the sympathetic, dad next door with the 5 kids. I get outrageous, screaming, crazy killer. And I get slap a gun on him and a police vest and everybody freeze and put your hands up. That's
but what's more fun? Being the
They're all
sympathetic
fun.
kid?
They're all fun.
Okay. I don't know. I feel like if I was going to be in a movie, which I don't think I could ever act, I would love to be, I think it'd be more fun to be the bad guy, than any kind of, I don't know. I've never been in a movie.
I agree, but you have to be Loomis. That's all you have to be.
I've never been Loomis. Would you?
I'm trying to talk this man into dressing up as Loomis next Horror Hound so he can run around and say he shot me 6 times.
I'm going to end up getting arrested. I shot him 6 times. Somebody's going to come up. Who do you shoot? And I'm going to get arrested. All because you want me to wear a trench coat and act like I'm Dr. Loomis. It's because I'm bald. Thanks a lot.
I know I had a really hard time getting into a bad, because in the first film I did, I had to stand in as a villain, as a bad guy, doing some horrible things to people, and it was so funny because we were having to drag these girls down. Is this
the girl number 3 or whatever?
Girl number 3. We were having to drag these girls down the stairs. We all had masks on, so I was standing in, and I'm dragging these girls down these steps, and the guy across me is great. Adam Pepper. He's a great actor. He was all into it. He's, get your bitch ass motherfucking ass, all this shit, devil. And I'm like making sure they don't get hurt. And I just couldn't not be concerned for their safety or because I'm not an actor. I couldn't separate myself.
Place.
You were the killer with the heart of gold.
Yeah, and also just like I guess just the nurturer and the filmmaker. Man, I don't want anyone getting hurt, so I was like, I can't, even though he's not really doing this to them, I can't even fake it. Like I can't. So luckily I had a mask on because I was probably like,
I feel like that would be me. Like I'm too scared of hurting anybody's feelings or hurting them, period. I'm just like, I'm sorry.
I got you. It's okay. I got you.
Good thing. Well, you have to wear the mask. That's that way you can't show your. I'm so sorry.
When I was just
I don't know. I'd go all in.
When I was just doing like the Jason stuff where I'm like dragging a knife around and stalking, I could do that. But when I had to interact with an actress and be violent, it was hard for me to. I couldn't.
Yeah, I can't.
From it.
I can't imagine, especially to a child.
I couldn't imagine what you guys like. Hats off to you guys because I couldn't.
Who wants to talk about that? Acting like you're killing a child, because that's got to be rough.
Working with the children's like the worst part, and not always for the reasons you think. Like it was. And for the record, playing the bad guy is so much more fun.
See?
So I am grateful. Nate cast me in a film he was working on as not the bad guy, but that one got put on hold. So, but it's nice to not, but it's more fun. But I remember for hours, the scene where he's, eating the apple, cutting it with the totally antique, rusty straight edge razor, and then I'm actually eating the apples going, well, I had my tetanus shot. It's like you're
good
watching,
scene though.
You're watching these kids like you're trying to pick which one out that you want, and I'm like, of course, while it's filming, I'm actually staring at them in my head. I'm like, this is so weird. But then the fun part about it was, here I am, I'm like, I'm going to scare these children. And it was the playground scene. And I'm like, oh man, the worst part about working with them is they kept coming up and I've got the glove on at one point and they're like, will you chase us with it? And I keep telling them, no, it's actually metal. It will hurt you. And they kept going, no, chase us. He'll put it on my face. And then like these little kids, I'm like, no, stop. So that was actually
the role reversed.
You're ruining my headspace. Go away.
Get away, go. But that was weirder than anything, is they wanted me to run around and like chase them and like, oh, just drag them down my face. I'm like, you're 8.
When you're sharp though, was your claw sharp?
I mean, sharp enough. I mean, if I jabbed it at you, I would probably hurt you pretty bad. I mean, they weren't razor sharp, no. But
mine were almost razor sharp.
Okay. I mean,
we had to be careful.
Nate has the one we used in the film, so I don't remember that one.
Where is the?
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, it's back. I'll go grab it. It's I mean, it's got the points, but if you dragged it across your hand, it's not going to cut you. Yeah, they're not sharpened. Most of the guys who build gloves won't make them sharp.
Those look sharp.
These are really sharp.
Put that on your hand. Come on. Give us the full effect.
Yeah, I forgot.
You got the glove. You got to wear it.
I wish Kevin had his with him. But
I do too. I left it.
Nathan's
And
got
that-
like 8 of them.
Yeah,
and
he's
to
got like.
piggyback on what Kevin was saying. I mean, they're 8. They bounce back.
Wow,
It's
that looks
fine.
great. They popped. No, I mean, I was 8 years old loving Freddy. Did they design the glove differently, or is that based off of any of the ones in the film?
This is not based on anything on any of the films. This was designed and made by Shay Fogg. I think he's made 3 or 4 of these for us. I broke 2 of them.
Oh.
Just being rough with them, I broke 2 of them. Not because they're not well made. They are. It's just I was just too rough with it. Chris has one in California, and I have one here. Because I didn't think that any airline would be happy with me taking this on a plane, and I wasn't going to put it in checked luggage. But now the design of the claw itself, and the curvature and everything, this is all Shay, and it's original to the Kruger series.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
it has its own glove.
Yep.
Nate, what do you got? There we go.
Brian Sills made that one. I wanted it to be the original glove because we were really focused on being the first film pretty much almost exclusively.
Yeah.
And that's why he has no stripes on his sleeves, and the hat was the original. And actually the blade on the index finger is an actual P210 case knife, which was the original knife, which aren't in production anymore. They sell because, of course, Freddy collectors will pay outrageous numbers for money for those. But Brian had one. He threw it on there. So that one actually is the same knife that they used on the original glove. It's a tomato knife that's upside down, basically.
A tomato knife.
Yep, they were tomato knives.
I know that.
Getting this picture of Kevin with that glove on, slicing up a tomato now, making his little sandwich on set.
No, Nate was Nate directed it, obviously, but you could also tell the love he had for it, because I would do something and he'd be like, wait, no, cut. Kevin, move the hat. Let me move the hat for you. Because I would do something in my head and the hat would shift. He'd be like, no, it's always got to be at this one particular angle. Or, the way I would hold the glove up, he'd be like, no, I'm gonna take one finger, I'm gonna move it just a little bit,
Nathan, you sound like me now. I'm so anal about these things.
Well, no, it was like I knew, like we said about his direction. I said I want Freddy. I want to see Fred Krueger. Don't do Robert, but there has to be those little inflections of Robert that I felt like certain vocabulary, like he says, my children, things like that, where if you hit on those, it sounds like Freddy. But also just the swagger that Robert had, the stance, the Jimmy Cagney stance, the surfboard sidewalk thing he did, the way he'd use his neck, the way he'd use that, wear that hat kind of cocked to the side, and the way he used the glove like a gunslinger, dropping that shoulder, all those little things, even like the rolled up cuff in the first movie. He rolled his cuff up because the sweater in the original was an extra large, which Robert probably has never worn an extra large in his life. So that's why it looks bulky on him. So it was like my sweater, so it was perfect because Kevin's not an extra large guy. So he had my sweater on. So it looked bulky on him, but he would roll up the cuff on the first film because of the glove. So all those little details like that, even to the point where people call it out as a mistake, but he's wearing like the stunt glove from the first movie in the last scene where the lieutenant sees him with the doll, and he's all laughing and stuff. I mean, he's got the stunt glove on, which I got that over. I'll go grab it. But it's the stunt glove seen in the original movie a lot, and it's the finger stalls aren't connected. So people see it and go, "Oh, look, it's broken, stupid shit," like they call it out like it's a mistake. And I'm like, no, that was just I wanted to get everything part one in there as I could. And so I thought, well, this part is a fantasy moment. It's not reality. It's what the lieutenant sees in his head. So that's the perfect place to put this stunt glove in there, because the glove's incidental at this point. It's just, but the people who know what it is are like, oh, that's cool. That's a stunt glove. So.
Well, and there was a lot of physical, almost like Freddy boot camp, where you showed me how to walk, how to hold my posture, which I'm grateful for, because it felt like doing a play, where you go through and you work on blocking in your stance. And so, but, I'm grateful Nate paid more attention to the detail on that kind of stuff than I did.
Well, he pays attention like that. Go ahead, Roberto.
No, I'm listening to Nate and Kevin talk about how they the different nuances that they used for their film, and I'm shaking my head in agreement with it because we did the same thing. We just felt, and I'm thinking that you guys felt the same way, is that you're making a Freddy Krueger film where Freddy Krueger is not burnt. He's a live human being. In real life, no supernatural anything, no dream demon, no nothing.
Right.
But you're playing him alive, and it's not Robert Englund playing it, it's Kevin or it's me. And the audience has to recognize that person who's playing Freddy as Freddy. So you put the little nuances in there so that the person maybe even subconsciously is looking at it going, oh, Freddy Krueger. That guy's playing Freddy Krueger. I think that's probably why the two of us have gotten the response that we've gotten from people, is that we did the nuances. It wasn't, even though our film was more of a Robert influenced thing, and we got away from that with the last 5 films, little by little. It was more nuanced. We wanted it to be our thing, and you guys wanted it to be your thing. But you had to have those little things in there, or else people would be just like,
it can't be completely foreign to the character that they all know. So you do the little things, like I said, the nuances, the stance, the silhouette, those type of things, where that's recognizable. That's what I like about these 2 films, and the response to you 2 guys was that we do hear that constantly in all the Freddy groups. No one but Robert. No one but Robert. Then they see Roberto or they see Kevin, they go, oh, well, this guy is the only guy. So suddenly you guys become the only guys who can do it. And I'm always like, there are so many, it's a weird comment because there's like so many amazing actors in the world. Like, oh, Gary Oldman can't play Freddy? Really? like it's just an odd thing for people to say, but fans are kind of that way. Like, they have to be shown something. Like, oh, John Bernthal should play Wolverine. Oh, I don't know. And then somebody mocks up a Photoshop with cigar and burns. Like, oh, I see it now.
Yeah.
Like right now we have Paul Bailey, who just did the part 2 makeup, and released those little clips that he did, and people are like, holy shit, forget Roberto and Kevin. This guy should play him now. And it's like, well, Paul's doing a great job, but he's also wearing Kevin Yeager's makeup. He looks like Freddy Krueger because he's got the makeup on, and he knows the nuances. He knows the movements. He's got that down. So you put any really great actor in that makeup, because that's what's really funny. Most likely, we're never going to get a prequel. We're going to get another burned Freddy, nightmare demon, dream demon guy. So it doesn't matter who's in there. It's the person's going to be wearing makeup anyway. It's about what comes through that makeup.
I can see a prequel. I think I could see a prequel more heading towards like a limited series on television.
I can see. That's what I want.
Even though I would prefer a movie, I could see it really going in that direction. Like maybe 8 episodes, hour and a half long, something like that, and they really kind of flesh it out in that kind of direction. But yeah, I agree with you. I think that when they finally do make a new one, I think it's going to be. If they're going to do that, I would like to see a continuation. I don't know that I want to see another remake.
Yes.
And I'm not bashing the remake. I know people hate it, but, and I don't love it either, but I think we've seen that already. I'd like to see a continuation.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think Freddy needs to be remade ever. I mean, he lives in the dream world, it's like, why do you have to, you can continue forever. Really, I mean, new character. Yeah. Am I wrong in thinking that?
No, you're not at all. Because think about the Hellraiser series. Like, they're still continuing it on with different actors playing Pinhead, and not completely revamping it.
Yeah, but the problem is fans get so, and I get being in love with Robert. He did such a great job for so many years, and he is Freddy. But there are other people. Obviously, we've seen 2 here. That, and if you haven't seen the movies, go get on YouTube after the show. Get on YouTube and check out Confession. Check out the Krueger series. They're great. I mean, these 2 guys really. I mean, they're different kind of takes in a way, but they're still showing. You see Freddy. Roberto got to wear some makeup, and Although Kevin's wearing a lot of makeup, it's
mostly grease.
Yeah, right. But I mean, you don't get to see the burnt up Freddy as much. But Roberto did get to do that a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're really great. Roberto, you really make those movies, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, they're not. I'm not saying they're bad or anything at all. No, but if it wasn't for you, I mean, seeing maybe another person playing Freddy, I don't think they'd work as well. That's my opinion. But
I'm gonna go ahead and speak for Nate and Kevin here. I think the other reason why both of ours are successful is that there's this real genuine love of this film series and this character, and for Wes's movies and things like that. And I think because with that kind of admiration and love for the material and some talent behind it, not only in front of the camera but behind it, you really want to live up to what's been done before. And even though it's not canon or anything like that, the fact that people look at Confessions or Krueger and say, this fits into my idea of the canon for this movie, whether you like the Drifter Freddy or the Family Man Freddy, there's something there for both camps. And all of this was done with such love that I think that what shows through to people. Somebody goes, I'm going to make a Freddy Krueger film, and they get their friends together, and none of them are really actors, and nobody has any film experience, but they do this thing where Freddy's wearing a glove and he runs around stabbing people, and it's, I'm not trashing anyone, but it's just like they're doing it for fun.
Yeah.
I think everybody did this for like love, and you got artists who were like into it.
And we were talking about earlier about fan films, and I said, what I want to see in a fan film is the stuff that we may know about but we never saw, and that's what's cool about the prequel was, because I don't want to see just Jason hacking teenagers and Michael chasing teenagers in a movie. Like a lot of fan films do that; they just remake what they like in those films. Whereas, like, no, I want to see the story of Donald Thompson or Pamela Voorhees or that type of thing. I want to see, and that's what Vincent talked about that when he was on about Never Hike Alone. And I was really shocked that Never Hike Alone really connected with fans, because it isn't like the Friday the 13th movies, because it explores other things. And I don't know if you guys have seen it. I know the guys on the show have, but a guy is basically discovering Camp Crystal Lake as he's hiking. And I said, what Friday the 13th fan doesn't want to do that? Would not love to stumble across Camp Crystal Lake today and just explore it. And that's what I think the appeal of that film was every Friday the 13th fan could kind of get a buzz of like, oh man, could you imagine finding the abandoned camp somewhere and realize that you're at Camp Crystal Lake? And he said the same thing with Confession. He goes, who doesn't want to sit across or have a conversation with Freddy and have him talk about what he did? And I was like, I never thought of it that way, but because I was so concerned that a 31-minute conversation would dull people to death. Like I just really thought it was going to bore people. But going back to what you said about the series, that's what I really want to see. I want to see a mini series that's handled about the people of Springwood.
Before you even get going, we saw that Freddy's Nightmares. Come on.
I wanted to focus on the people of Springwood and as things start to happen and as they're investigating. And the way I saw a good way to usher in a new Freddy, an acceptable Freddy, is you don't announce who it is. And what you do is you set up, because there's got to be suspects all through it. They had to bring people in all the time. So what you do is you have Fred Krueger have an alias the whole show. You introduce all these really fantastic actors and suspects, and the fans are trying to figure out who is Fred or who is the killer, but they have no idea which one of them is Freddy. And basically you just make people fall in love with that actor and that performance and that character. And then it's revealed, oh, he's the Springwood slasher. So they're not like prejudging this actor when they announce, oh, this guy's playing Freddy or this guy's Freddy. Like you keep them guessing the whole time to the point where it doesn't matter who it is. There's because that's what you do when you watch shows. You glue on to a character, an actor's performance. You're like, man, this guy's killing it. This guy's really cool. And then maybe that's not Freddy. Maybe it's just another guy. Maybe he is a criminal, but he's not the Springwood slasher. And you can manipulate your audience. You play with it, but basically you help the audience. You win them over on that actor because they're not so wrapped up in oh, this guy's playing Freddy, and he sucks because he doesn't look like this guy, or he doesn't look what I think he should look like.
And there's a checklist of expectations with that too.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's what's funny. Like, if you were to go back in 1984 and tell people this guy, Robert Englund's going to play the psycho killer, they'd be like, that guy? Because that's what's so funny about it. He doesn't look like a guy, like, especially back then.
Nope.
He doesn't look like your worst nightmare.
What did Wes call him? Kind of a geeky looking
yeah, kind of a
guy,
geek.
like that.
Yeah, and so that's the thing. Like, people have to be shown how good somebody is, or how it works before they can believe it. You know, that's how it is. Like, Ben Affleck can't play Batman. Well, a lot of people loved him as Batman. Heath Ledger can't be the Joker. Well, he shocked you, didn't he? Like people doubt the talent that an actor has and what they can pull off, and it's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. And they also love putting their old films against them.
Yeah, and it's always like the little things, like, well, she doesn't have blue eyes, she can't be Wonder Woman, or something bullshit.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Like, they have
like,
When Nate, when you released the trailer, like or when you and David released the teaser, I made the mistake of reading the comments.
Oh boy.
I've never had death threats before over an acting role. That was unique. I had no idea who I was.
How dare you?
Oh
yeah. They had no faith in you, man. They were like, you should have got that Roberto guy, or you should have got all these other guys. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's great.
And the birth of the rivalry started there with that trailer.
Yeah, and it
Good
was
job, Nate.
terrible. Like, I from day one it started, and I'm like, but that's not why we didn't make this movie with them in mind or anything. Like, and it just sucked because I'm glad that, you know, Roberto and Kevin and myself have been friends, and because it's like I made this film because I wanted to make it, because I wanted to see it when I was 12. You know, like, I know we never got that prequel. And so all of a sudden it's like they're just, oh, who's better, or you suck, or this. It's like I don't even read it anymore. I don't look at this shit anymore, because I just like I made something out of love, and they made something out of love, and it's all for the fans. It's all for all of us to celebrate.
Right.
And you know, I don't need all that stuff. So,
well, why can't they like both anyway? As a fan, not even in it, I'd be like, wow, you know, here we go. Here's two versions of this prequel that tons of people have been asking for. Here they are. Enjoy. Mm-hmm. Be fans of both of them.
Yeah.
No reason why you can't be a fan of both of them.
Yeah.
One of the things that bothers me about a true prequel, like if they were to actually do a big budget version of that, is they would have to really stress on the pedophilia of the character, and a lot of people wouldn't be, you know, appreciative of that kind of aspect, I think.
Well, they tried to do that in the last remake, make it, you know, more about that, and
go
ahead, Nate.
Oh, well, yeah, we talked about that before, and then Mark Patton talked about it on the episode. We had Mark last week or the week before last, and he talked about how he posted an image of Freddy with a rainbow sweater, and he got attacked like, oh, you gays need everything. You try to take everything. Now you got to take Freddy from us. And he said, you can have him. He's a pedophile. We don't want him, right? And so the whole subject of people being like loving Freddy or being a fan of him, where it's like, because like when the remake came out, it was all about, well, he's a child molester. That's not how Freddy is. Like, he always was a child molester.
They just toned it down because of there was a case or something going on during filming. So Wes pulled it back a little bit.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, you're okay with him butchering 5-year-olds, but
right.
Oh, he can't be a child molester too. So it's like, but that's kind of what a lot of child murderers are. And so what do you guys think about that, of the people the fandom of Freddy? Because Wes was really upset about that he became this anti-hero character, this celebrated
pop icon.
Yeah, pop icon, because he wanted the guy to be the most vile, evil son of a bitch on the planet.
Right. And then kind of reduced to one-liner type situations.
So what do you guys think about, just again, talking about Freddy and what happened to Freddy from his introduction in 1984 to being on pajamas and toys? And
I got a toy.
Riding brooms.
Rapping with the fat boys, you know?
Well,
Yo, Freddy.
That should have never happened.
With the child molesting issue, you know, it's I always think, and I love movies that, you know what's going on. They don't need to spell it out for you. Because to me, that's more terrifying because my mind is creating the images. I don't need to see it. It's more horrifying when I envision it because it's like, the moment that screen cut to black, what happened to that child, and it's upsetting enough. You don't need to like show it or over stress it. I think Wes was smart in that aspect because it's still read that way without being gratuitous about it.
Yeah,
we did it once. We did it once, and out of the 6 episodes of Krueger, there's only one scene where a kid gets you actually see the kid get stabbed, and it's quick. We didn't want to dwell on it, nothing like that, but we just figured it had been teased through 5 episodes or almost 5 episodes that we showed it. And then right after it was filmed and it was released, we made sure we released a behind the scenes video with the kid showing that he had a good time and he wasn't traumatized or anything like that. But lingering on a child death.
Yeah, that was always my apprehension of a prequel was I don't want to see that. I don't want to see a child being murdered. I don't want to see that. So with our film, there's one child being murdered and he was 14. So I made sure like he's the older kid because that's the thing that people also overlook is that the kids in Nightmare on Elm Street were young. Like they say Tina Gray was 15 in the movie when she's her body's being taken out. Like he was a pedophile. He's totally sexualizing these underage
freshman in high school.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that was one thing I think I don't want to see him stalking or killing a little kid. And we never see him actually slash the kid. We see the result of the cuts. But even that's upsetting. But again, like Kevin, like that was the makeup artist's son. She was one to it. So, and he was 14 and, he thought it was awesome. But yeah, but it was, that was the part I'm like, I don't want to see that. And I wouldn't want to see that. I don't think Hollywood would do it anyway, but I wouldn't want to see that. You can, again, you let people connect the dots. You do.
Well, they did that in that Dr. Sleep, the scene with the kid.
That was horrible. So hard to sit there.
That kid's so good.
Yeah, he was.
Oh, yeah.
I'm taking my earbuds out on that one.
No.
God, Jared.
Sorry. I still haven't seen it. The director's cut's like 3 hours long.
Come on.
Worth it though.
Well, and in hours, honestly, the part that bothers me the most of the entire movie is the opening credits where like you see him walk up on a kid playing with some toys and then the kid's not there anymore. And then the next scene, I'm washing blood off my hands in a bird bath. Like watching that was like more to me watching myself than anything because I know that nothing happened, but my brain is like, oh fuck, that's no.
Yeah. I mean, and it's fun. Like that's one of my favorite parts was when I was like, oh yeah, he's gonna clean his bloody hands in the bird bath because that was David, the cinematographer's house where he was renting at the time, and I saw the bird bath in the back, and I said, oh, we gotta have Freddie like wash his bloody hands. That's it, we don't have to see the murder. We just cut to that, and we know what happened. But the funny thing about that, again, going back to the homage of the nightmares and the love and passion that Roberto talks about, that opening was originally supposed to be a nod to Wes Craven's inspiration for Freddy, where he saw the hobo outside of his window as a kid, because that was what we were going to do. The kids were going to be in the house playing hide and go seek, and the kid was going to look out the window and see Freddy walking up the sidewalk, and then Freddy was going to walk towards the back. And then we were going to cut to you washing your hands and so what happened was that was planned and we got to the set and then we couldn't get the window up top on the second floor because we needed them looking down. It was all boarded up and we couldn't get it out and it was a rental. So we just had to kind of wing it on that day and just have the kid playing there. I'm not happy with that scene because of that. Like the kid didn't want to do it. Remember that, Kevin? Like he was in the house. It was like 110 degrees or something ridiculous outside that day. And he was in the house playing like a WWF video game.
Yeah.
And he did not want to leave. And we're like, you want to act today, buddy? He's like, no. That's why he's just kind of like playing, like, and like people make comments like, no one plays with GI Joes that way.
Yeah, well,
It's like, well, we were sweating our asses off, and he didn't want to do it, and we just got it because we're like, I'm done. This was the last day of shooting, and we just wanted to get back in the house because it was miserable.
And it was so hot, and I was in the sweater and the black trench coat and the hat, and I'm like dripping. I'm like, please, kid, just play with the GI Joe.
You're just like, Nathan, you sure you want this sweater back?
So you got any funny stories, Roberto, from shooting? Like anything like really stands out that was
something funny happened pretty much on every one of them, but the very first one in 2011, I too was handcuffed the entire time during our interrogation scene, and the guy who was playing Thompson at one point had to grab me, and there was like a little bit of a struggle at the end of it, and the actor wasn't like he was being how you were when you were acting. He was being a little too tender with me, like where he should have just like grabbed me. So Chris is going, no, you're not doing it right. Do it like this. And I'm sitting in a chair, and Chris grabs me by the shoulder and goes like, throw him like this. And he throws me, and my head goes right against the wall and goes, and all I see is little white dots all over the place. And I kind of slumped on the floor and, oh, dude, you all right? I'm like, no. So Chris gave me a concussion during our first Freddy film.
It's like William Freakin over here.
Yeah.
Something like that happened on ours, but I
the director.
We had Nate, I don't even know if you remember this, but the fake blood moment where he's supposed to like punch me and then I spit out the blood.
Yeah.
And it was like the perfect shot. They put the edible blood in my mouth. We just got back from lunch, and the perfect shot where they got it coming out of my mouth, and Dave was like, oh, it looked great. And then he was reviewing the footage, and somebody noticed, they're like, oh crap, we forgot to put the handcuffs back on him.
Yep, I remember that.
You can blatantly see that I'm not wearing handcuffs, and I'm like, that's fine, let's just do it again. And they're like, that was the last of the edible fake blood. And I'm like, okay, what are other options? And they're like, the store-bought kind that's made of God knows what. And I'm like, let's do this. So I hold it in my mouth for like to the point that I'm about to vomit. And I'm like, let's go. And then so what you see in the film is me like nearly wanting to throw up on this fake blood.
What does it taste like?
Chemicals. It's awful. I mean, the moment I put it, because like it's not like, okay, we're gonna put it in and go spit. It's like, we're gonna put it in your mouth, we're gonna make sure everything gets ready. Is sound rolling? Is camera? I'm like, come on, let's go.
20 minutes of that in your mouth, you'll be fine.
Yeah. It's
I remember you going out and putting like real dirt and oil on your face. I think because we were because the whole thing, like people ask about the dirt. I'm like, well, he lives in the boiler room in my film, and he's not a hygienic guy, But also the part where the Manson quote where he puts on the grease on his face. I'm like, well, he's going out and stalking children at night. This is his war paint or his mask. He's hiding himself in the dark. So that's why when they arrested him, he was on the hunt. They caught him in the out, and that's why he's all dirty and grimy, because he was out there probably maybe to kill Russell's kids, because he knew them. They were going to be victims 21 and 22. So that's why he's all grimy, because some people look at it and like, what's the deal with that? And I was like, well, I wanted to capture, because I always noticed that in the original film was Freddy was, he was dirty, he was grimy, his hand, because in the original he wasn't burnt past his face and his chest. His hand is bare, it's like normal, but it's real dirty and gritty. So I wanted to capture that. Just again, I don't want to sit across from this guy. That was the whole thing. Like, this guy looks awful, probably smells awful, and is awful, and I don't want
works with boilers, and
Now for the war paint scene, it was actual black grease paint.
Yeah, it was.
There were points we were like shooting in that factory where like Nate or somebody would actually run their hands along the machinery and just be like, here, hold on, and get some grease.
To make it authentic.
Yeah, it was gross, but worth it.
Where was your boiler room? Where'd you film?
That was really, it's weird. The first day of shooting was just a scout because a guy called me up, Daniel Hyatt, who had run audio on Satanica one day, said, "Hey, I'd love to help out." And he lived, he's in Evansville with you and David, right?
I just saw him the other day.
And he said, "I got this haunt, and there's a basement. It's like an old, like 100-year-old building, and there's a furnace down there." So he showed me pictures, and I was like, "Well, maybe we can use it," because I didn't have the boiler room or the factory yet. And then he said, "Well, my buddy in Henderson, Kentucky, has 2 factories," and he showed me like a hallway. It's like an industrial hallway, and I didn't think much of it. I said, "Well, it's like 2-hour drive up there." So I said, I'll come up there on Sunday and I'll check it out. And then I called Kevin and David, my cinematographer, because they were both there. They lived there. And I said, "You guys do anything Sunday?" They said, "No." So let's go out and look at this place together. And if anything, we'll do some promo photos or something with Kevin, because we hadn't done anything, I think. And so we get there and we walk in, and immediately I'm like, "Oh my God." Because it was just like a machine shop or some kind of, I can't remember what kind of.
We can't say what it actually.
We can't say what it was, but like I'm looking at, again, just filmmaker, what's in frame, and like, oh, we put a camera there, that's spoiler room. We put a camera here, that's this, and oh, this is where he could be working and sleeping. This is where he can come down the stairs. So I'm walking through for just a location scout, but just intuition. I told David bring all the equipment, and I brought all the props and all the makeup and all the costumes. And, I already storyboarded the whole film, so I knew what I needed and knew what I wanted. And so we got there, and I said, "Shit, we could film here. You guys busy?" So, no, I ain't got nowhere to go, So we shot for like maybe 3 or 4 hours, just a lot of the part where he's sweeping. That was the first shot, the big wide of the factory. So it was just like some kind of, I don't know what they did. I think they were like a machine shop or something, but they had all these huge things. And just where you put the camera
hides everything.
It reads as a boiler room.
But it's Kentucky though, right?
Yeah, it's in Henderson, Kentucky. It was right across, because we shot in Henderson, Kentucky. Evansville, Indiana is where the house was. Another cool fact, that house is
family there.
The same street as the Roseanne house, because the
right
writers
across the street from it.
Yeah, so like the house is over there, and because the co-creator of Roseanne is from Evansville, I believe. That's why they use that house. But yeah, all of it's kind of into this like a 30-minute to Owensboro to Evansville. Is that what it is? 40
ish. Yeah.
Yeah. So we shot the interrogation was at a radio station in Owensboro, in their meeting room. And then we shot a lot of the kids downtown Owensboro, and then the factory and all that stuff's in Henderson, and then the house that young Freddie lives in, the alleyway where Mr. Underwood and all them, it's all at David's home that he was renting at the time. And it's like 1940s era homes.
And David had such a great eye, because just looking at the location we were at for the factory, like looking at it as a whole, you're like, it looks kind of modern. But he'd be like, well, let me just get this one angle over here. And like, that's what he does really well, is like, he has a good keen eye for, if we only shoot this portion of it, it's going to look great. And it did. And he was able to edit it in a way that it looked really, really cool. He actually, even in the interrogation room, caught something nobody else did. There was like a USB port or something in the wall that he just completely digitally removed, and like nobody in the room that was there for those 2 days caught that and thought to cover it up. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I just went in and just took it all out."
The reason why I asked about the locations is our interrogation room was an acting studio in New York. Our boiler room was an abandoned warehouse in Philadelphia. There's a lot of locations for different things that were in New Jersey, in North Jersey. There's the classic locations from the movie, and then we shot other stuff in Pasadena and Long Beach and in LA. But my point in asking is that none of them are in Ohio.
Yeah.
And but they all look like Springwood, Ohio.
Yeah.
You guys did little things with your with your locations that made it look like the films, like the first film. We tried to do little bits of that too, where I don't know if you can see in some of the original film where there's palm trees.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
So we made sure that in at least one or two parts of the films, that kind of in the background, you could kind of see that there was a palm tree back there. It's like little thing like that. We tried to put those things in there too, but it was all Springwood. And I just like the look of it. So between your film and our films, they're filmed kind of all over US, but nowhere in Ohio.
Yeah.
That's true. I do have a question. You guys ever? I have a feeling, Roberto, you're not done, are you, with Freddy? Are you?
Yes.
You are done. No more
Yep.
Freddy, huh?
No more Freddy. The one we released last year was the last one.
So you'll never do it again.
I don't like to ever say never, but
Okay.
I am not planning on doing another film as Freddy. Unless somebody officially hires me for it, then I'll do it. But as far as doing another fan film, no, I'm not planning on doing one.
Okay. What about you, Kevin? Would you get back in that?
Likewise. Yeah, it's the same situation. I mean, like Nathan can talk about it, but this was just kind of a one-off thing that we really wanted to do that surprisingly was really successful. And I had fun with it. Now, if Nathan was like, hey, let's do something else, I know it won't happen, Nate, sorry. But like, if it was like, let's do something else, I would do it. But I did get some people that like approached me that were like, hey, I'm doing a film and like, you should come do it in mine. And I'm like, not really. Now, if big budget studio was like, here's a bunch of money, thank you very much, I'd be happy to play that part.
Of course.
Yeah, I think something came up with Roberto once where someone suggested me using Roberto or something, and I said I don't think Roberto would do that because it would be a kind of like his loyalty to Chris. Like that's how I think it is. Like we made those movies together. Like I wouldn't want to make a sequel without David, without you, because that was our team, that was our family, and like the whole. So I'm like, I think that if Roberto's going to do Freddy outside of being paid by New Line, he's going to do it with Chris because that would be his loyalty to his filmmaker, the guy that they did it together. And I think that's a strong thing that kind of happens in independent film, especially because everybody's kind of working together and doing favors for each other. And you did that thing together. So, but yeah, the sequel thing, it came up, but like Kevin said, like I had this movie in my heart for 25 years and I made it and I kind of felt like, well, I did it. Like I didn't really want to make another one. Like I told the story I've been waiting to tell. Why make another one? And like the only reason to make another one was attention or something. Like because people wanted it. And I'm like,
cash grab.
I just didn't see any point. And again, I paid for it out of pocket. Like I was like, I don't want to spend another. The first movie cost like $1,500, I think. And so when I wrote this, I did write a sequel because there were reasons I did. Like I wanted to see Kevin do it again because he was so fantastic in it, and I really wanted to see it. I also wanted to see Todd explore the detective that beats him up because Todd has a very small role in it, but I liked what he did in it, and I wanted to explore his character more. So I said, all right. So the sequel I wrote was The Night They Burn Him, and it was more focused on the parents debating over whether or not we're going to do this. And they're like, they've got Freddy, they've got him tied up in another room.
They're kind of like a 12 Angry Men.
Boom. It was 12 Angry Men with Nightmare on Elm Street.
Well, and you kind of did a little bit of a comic about it, like one at least.
Yeah, I ended up like kind of drawing it out and throwing it out there just because I liked it. But when I wrote it, like this is great. I love 12 Angry Men and I like the idea of this. But when I thought about it logistically, like I'm gonna have to cast really fucking great actors because this is like a play. Because it was like just, and I had like Glenn's parents and Nancy's parents and Rod's and Tina's and Kristen's and all the characters from all the way up to the Dream Warriors. Their parents are represented because they were there, and so they have to be there. So when I looked at them, like I'm gonna have to cast actors who fit those roles and are good and can perform this. And that's going to take a lot of time and a lot of money, and it's going to take a lot of rehearsing because, again, it was like a stage play the way it was written. And I'm like, I don't have the time and I don't have the money to. And people say, well, people will give you money, Nate. And I'm like, I'm kind of weird on crowdfunding fan films. So
Yeah,
I don't want to do that. So if I'm going to make it, it's going to come out of my pocket because I just don't want to mess with somebody else's property and get money from people for it. So
people also don't know like how much it costs to make a film like this. First of all, it's all a period piece.
yeah.
The prequel itself probably runs like up until the 70s. But just getting actors back and forth. I mean, a lot of our, when we were filming on the East Coast, some of our actors came from the West Coast. When we were filming on the West Coast, a lot of people flew over from New York, New Jersey, and Philly to be in it. That's a lot of money, like that actors and producers and are spending. And a lot of people are just like, well, just sell them. Well, you can't sell them. And people don't grasp, like, I really want it on DVD or Blu-ray. Okay, but we can't sell it to you. And what's the point of manufacturing something, paying for it, that we can't get any money back for? That's a big undertaking. Plus, you can see it for free. Your film's on YouTube and other avenues, and so our series is too. You don't need to have that physical copy of it. You can get it on YouTube and or Vimeo or whatever. But people don't get it. They're just like, oh, I have a great idea for your next movie for Freddy, and we're like, whoa, hold on, we're not going to make any more. It's just 8 years was enough of it off and on. But we kind of went another way that you did. You did kind of like that big 30-minute short film. We did, I think our longest film was like 14 minutes, and the shortest one was 6. So putting them all together, it was about 40 minutes maybe.
Yeah.
And then we felt like we said everything we wanted to say with the movies, and why go on after that? Then you're just overstaying your welcome after that.
Yeah, then it feels like you're just desperate to keep it going. It's like, no, right. I that's what it came to. Is like, I did what I set out to do. Everything else is just going to be pale by comparison, So why am I really making it again? And again, there were genuine reasons, but to do it again, because I wanted to see Kevin do it because I thought he was so good, and I wanted to see Todd do it again, and to see that play out, because when I wrote it, I really did like it, but I said, it's just not worth it financially. And, convincing my wife that I need to go spend all this money and time making another fan film that I can't sell and I can't get my money back. And it's like, and again, the whole crowdfunding, I'm like, no, I can't do that. But I mean, again, never say never. But I think I did talk to Kevin a while back about doing something because I wanted to play around. I wanted to try out effects and things. I wanted to learn some things. So I wanted to do we had this location. I was like, I kind of want to do this nightmare sequence because we never did. Because some people do want to see Kevin in the makeup. And I was like, well, maybe we could do this like little 5-10 minute short of a nightmare. And I could play around with camera tricks and effects, and because I wanted to make Freddy big and huge and build little miniatures and do all this trick photography where we really went surreal nightmare, where all kind of weird, strange things, and to test those out for other projects as a fun project. But at the same time, I went, do I really want to do that with what we already did? It's kind of bastardizing what we did if I do that just for a learning session kind of thing. So
if you do it for yourself, I don't know if you'd want to release that, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
As a test to see what you can do with it. Yeah, but then that temptation's going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I like this. Maybe people will want to see it. And Kevin, I can tell you from personal experience, that makeup's not comfortable. It's not comfortable. Full face and neck and head full of that stuff. And it smells just as bad as the chemical blood tastes. So
Well, and I feel like if I did it again, because I've done a couple short film projects for friends where I've played like the same part repeatedly. And it's like when you watch like a show at the very beginning and then you watch it in its final season, it's almost like a completely different character. Like I feel like I would just be doing an imitation of myself at that point, or like trying to recapture some kind of magic that happened organically when we were on set. And now I'm just trying to redo that again. Because so much of, and it kind of goes back to what we talked about, so much of what happened on set just kind of happened. I actually really enjoy the comments, because I do look at the comments and I don't get hurt over them anymore. I love the people that are like, oh, it's a little bit over the top. And I'm like, have you seen The Nightmare at all? But I had people tell me, or not tell me, but comment, they're like, sounds like a young Christopher Lloyd if he did acting. And I'm like, he was great in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, thank you very much. Because I have this weird thing where I don't even notice it till people point it out, that I take pauses at awkward moments. Like it, and I do it in real life too. Like if we're having like a really serious discussion and I'm starting to feel uncomfortable, I will stop mid-sentence to kind of think about what I'm going to say next. And it's like a mouth movement or something. And that started to roll into the character a little bit, just little nuances. And it wasn't intended. That's just how I am. So.
Well, even though you guys may not pick up the glove again, I'm glad we got what we got out of the both of you. You might have some upset people if they watch this and find that out, though. So,
well, we've been really upfront about telling people that last year when we released the film that was the last one.
Yeah.
That there wasn't going to be any more. It's just it's time to stop it.
Yeah. Well, how many?
Yeah, a little bit.
How many times has Cher gone on a farewell tour?
Good point.
Never say never, but we're happy with what we've done. So
that's good. Yeah. And you know what? I think for the majority, I think a lot of us are too. And whenever I say, excuse me, watch these movies, I think they could help people realize that Robert isn't, what is going on with my voice? Robert isn't the only one that could be Freddy. You guys did a great job in your projects. Nate, you did an okay job.
That was okay.
Damn.
No, in all seriousness, you did a great job, Nate.
I had just like Chris and Roberto, we had a hell of a team behind us too. Yeah. We had somebody from Lido doing the score, Roman doing the sound design, and Lisa with the makeup, and they're all important to the overall thing. And I'm just felt fortunate that people would come to give their time and make that film. And we did have a blast. I mean, it was really, when you're on set in a boiler room or factory and you're seeing a guy in a sweater and a glove scraping stuff and all that, it's just surreal. It's like Roberto talking about being at 1428 Genevieve's. It's just it's like living a dream in some ways, because I talked with Kevin when I talked to him about the part, because we worked on Satanica, and I had it when I immediately after I just saw Kevin's picture, and I said, because I wrote Confession like 3 years earlier. I'd been sitting around as this thing I did for fun, and to get out of me, and I played around with making it for me, never going to show it, and then Kevin was pre-cast on the film because it was an anthology, and he was already attached to it. The only actor I cast was Christine in the lead, but Kevin was on there, and I didn't know Kevin, and so I see a picture of him. He's got that grin that he has, and I went, this guy's got a really interesting look. I could see something there. It's like, I told somebody else, like, I'm gonna meet this guy and see. And I had that already in my head when I met you. And then when I heard the voice, I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Because people thought you were doing that voice, or it was fake, or we did something to your voice. Like, that's his fucking voice, man.
I have a scarred vocal. I mean, when I'm with my friends, I tend to talk in my higher register, but when you meet me in public, I'm going to talk more like this because it's, this is my professional voice. I think actually from Satanica, there's a still that always makes the rounds of like you directing me. And I'm pretty sure that you weren't directing. That was the moment you came up and was like, so I got this Freddy Krueger film. And like, I think we were talking about it, but that's like the still that keeps popping up. Yeah, sure. Okay, cool.
Yeah, because you were at that point where you didn't want to do bad guys anymore. I remember that.
Yeah.
You were like, I'm tired of playing bad guys. I'm always the bad guy. And I said, well, would you be interested in playing Freddy? And you're like, yes.
That's a different kind of bad guy.
Yeah.
I'm always my arm.
I'm always at the I don't want to play bad guys anymore point. And it's true, but then somebody's like, do you want to play bad guy? And I'm like, yes, please.
Right there with you.
And so, it was so fun because I knew everybody involved. And so I got to kind of play and just get, the people that were involved in that trusted me. And so I could kind of go a little off the wall and off script a bit, and like everybody knew that I'm not going to hurt anyone. So,
well, yeah, like what was that quote I shared the other day with William Friedkin? I was watching the documentary. He said, "I'm not looking for perfection. I'm looking for spontaneity." So that's what you're looking for with an actor. You give them all the information. He's like, the character. We've talked about it, because that's like we would talk about Freddy before we got on set, and we did one rehearsal. But I learned from Satanica that when you work with Kevin doesn't, like, he gets to the rehearsal and he reads the lines. He's not really giving it because he's saving it, and he's got these things. And like, so when you get on set, then you see what he's got. You see what he's prepared. You've seen and he knows it. He knows the lines. He's got it all down. And so that's an exciting thing for a filmmaker is you don't have to hammer it into them. Yep.
Yep, that's
look at the sweater you're wearing.
Yeah, I know it's weird, but
he's directing me.
It was. I actually remember what we said there, and it's so funny because it was about the Freddy thing. But I remember what you said to me.
You look really nervous too.
Like, well, Kevin's face is kind of like this, like kind of almost like a grimace. And I remember you said, "I look forward to working with you again, not here."
Well, it was such a long night. I think or 2 nights. I think by the end of that, like most of the evil came from the fact that I was fucking over that place, and I just wanted to get out because we're shooting throughout the night. So, but you're right. That is something that I didn't even think about. Is it drives? I mean, it's why I'm glad I work with a lot of people I know, because I have to kind of preface with, I'm not going to give you everything until I'm in front of the camera, or until we're like, if it's a play, until we're in tech rehearsals, or really close to the show. I did a real gritty, post-apocalyptic version of Macbeth one time, and that was horrifying. And like, we finally got to the big sword fight, and we had been, the actor and I had been holding back. And one night, he was going through relationship problems and I was having whatever problems. And we finally were just like, we're going to do this 100%. And we clashed swords and they broke. Because it was so hard.
Oh, man.
The guy who made them, he made them for us because of these post-apocalyptic swords. He's like, that's like rebar. That should not break. And somehow you guys just broke them. I'm like, okay, we'll go 50% then. But yeah, I tend to tell people like, hey, just trust me, like, and if you don't like what you see in the take, tell me and I'll completely redo it. But I'd much rather save that organic energy until I'm in front of the camera or I'm in front of an audience,
which makes filming exciting. I'm sorry, go ahead, Rob.
No, I was just gonna say, why I agree with that. Why waste it?
Right, go
for it when the cameras are rolling, or when the audience is there. You know what you're doing. You learned your lines. You're rehearsing it for memorization mainly, and then go for it when the camera's rolling.
Yeah,
totally.
So that's the time to be excited about like the filming process, because filming is so stressful anyway, especially as a filmmaker. You're watching the clock, you're watching everything. I got to get all this done. Again, trust is the thing. That's what I loved about Satanica, was I trusted all three of you actors. You were so strong, and I'm like, yes, I want to work with these people again. And that was another influence of doing Satanica, or Confession, was both you and David were, all three of us were like, let's do something again. David was like, let's do something soon. I said, well, I've got this thing. And that's why that movie happened so fast, because it was really quick after we finished that movie. And that's what you want. Like, you got people you could trust, and and so when I get on set and I see Kevin, I don't know what he's going to do, but I know what he does is going to be good. And I have that faith in him. Trust, sure as Chris has it with Roberto. Yeah. He doesn't have to give you all the things, because he knows you got it, and he wants to see.
Exactly, it's a process, and when you work with somebody over the course of several projects, and Kruger is not the only project I've done with Chris. I've done a lot of work with Chris, a lot of shorts. I've done, I don't know, 4 features films with Chris, one of which I was the lead in, and Chris would just say, "Here's the script, do your thing," and I would get in front of the camera and I'll do a take, and Chris. If it's not that he won't like something I do, I'll just maybe say, do it a little bit more like this. And then I'll just I'll redirect what I'm doing and then go ahead and go from there. And he just has everything in his head the way he already knows how it wants to be shot. He already knows how he wants to edit it. He already knows how he wants the dialogue to sound, what the actors are going to look like, wardrobe, stuff like that. So it's really just for him shooting the movie that's already in his head. And you do, and sometimes I'll come up with something and he'll go, "Oh, I didn't think of that. I like it. Let's keep it." Organically, like Kevin was saying earlier. It's a good process. It's a good way to work.
Yeah, like that's really what a director is supposed to do, is just pay attention. And we're watching you. You're trusting us to make you look good too. Like like so you're like, you don't want us. You got to trust us too. So we got to watch and go. And then we see things that you do unconsciously that you didn't know you did, and we go, "Hey, that last take you did this thing." I did, yeah. Keep that in mind. That was fucking awesome. And so that's what we do. An actor needs the director to be paying attention, not just. And that's what I like doing. I like watching someone like Kevin and doing something where you're like, dude, I never saw it that way. Because that new character we did before we got shut down, I didn't know who that character was. I had so many. We saw the auditions. We had like 10 different variations of the performance, and I didn't know what Kevin was going to do, because I'm so used to him playing the bad guy, and I like to go against type anyway. I don't want it. So that's why I wrote that part for Kevin.
You see in your new movie?
Yeah, and he's again playing a good guy, and I wanted to, so when he did it, I didn't know what to expect. And I was afraid, because of the villain image that you always have, if it was going to work. And then as soon as you start doing it, I'm like, yep, we got it. It's good. It's going to work. Because again, it's just.
Due to fan comments, though, Kevin is now going to be replaced by me.
So. Yeah. We'll bring him in. No one will notice.
Not at all. We look so similar.
Freddy. It's just Freddy again.
We'll just pass it back and forth. I like to be pushed, and Nathan wasn't afraid to do that a little bit. There's one other director, and he's probably the only son of a bitch that ever let get away with it, Jacob Belinsky, who does films and plays in the area. I was in his film 3 Terrors on Bloodstained Flesh, and then part of the Happy Hooker series. There's a Happy Hooker series you can find on the internet. David did the first part, Happy Hooker Bang Bang, and then Jake did the second part, Bloody Hooker Bang Bang, a love story. I'm a bionic pimp. It's on YouTube, look it up. But he knows how I operate, so he would just like push me and push me and push me and push me until like I would reach a point that I'd be like, "God damn it, Jake, I'm gonna do this."
It's right there.
And I'm thinking that, oh, I'm gonna piss him off, I'm gonna show him, and he'll be like, "That was what I wanted." Like, why didn't you just tell me that? He's one of the only people that I would let get away with that. But I do enjoy being kind of pushed a little bit.
You guys are both really good actors, and I appreciate having you guys on the show. Is there any way we can get a little Freddie before we wrap up?
Roberto, you take that.
Oh man, put me on the spot.
Kevin say this is really good coffee.
Yeah.
Well, see,
Oh my, no, screw that coffee scene, because that coffee scene where I take a sip and I'm like, that's a good cup of coffee. We shot that. I think you had me do it just for 5 minutes straight, just over and over again. I'm like, that's a good cup of coffee. That's a good cup of coffee. That's a good cup of coffee.
That's a good cup of coffee.
Good cup of coffee, Jim. Thanks, Jim.
oh man.
I want to hear Roberto's impression.
Yeah, I do too. Let's come on. Give us a line.
See, since for my live Freddy voice, my actual voice is actually higher. So when I was delivering lines for me, it was more like this when I spoke. I always kind of had this little bit of a sexy thing to it that was kind of inappropriate.
You're seducing people, right? Look at his face. Don't look directly in his eyes right now. Excellent.
Very nice.
Remember, I had fun with the stuff that I could whisper, like the stuff that I could say like really, really quietly, like the Manson quote, and I'm butchering it, so I'm only using like part of it, but like the whole like, I'm nobody, I'm just a boxcar and a jug of wine and a straight razor if you get too close. Because there's so much power in like the things we don't say real loud. There's so, of course you could do that, but there's more power in the things that, like I can look you in the face and say, hey, I'm going to kill you.
And you only elevate that one time. That thing you talked about, your ad lib, the anger. And that's really is like, that's the thing. Like a powerful, scary person is in control. They don't elevate that anger. They don't because you're fucking with that cop. He's not getting to you. You're getting to him. You're playing him the whole time. Like you said, I'm getting out of here any way I can. And I'm ahead of you all the time. And that's how Freddy is. He operates. I got you, motherfucker.
My favorite part probably was the spelling the name, because because that was, and I don't, and please call me out if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that was just like because you wanted me to do it slowly, but I added in that let me lean into the microphone for you for that.
Yeah.
Okay, you got it good. So.
Well, do you have a favorite scene from what you did?
For me,
or what you've done? Yeah.
I do, and I don't. I have scenes that I don't like, because I think anybody who's been an actor for a while, I don't know any actor who is 100% happy with everything that they've done. The actor themselves will pick things apart.
Right.
I really liked. You mentioned it earlier, speaking to the family in the diner.
Yeah.
I like the interaction between Freddie and his daughter. And I liked the kind of, I always thought my Freddie was kind of oily and snake-like. And I kind of liked that about him.
Mm-hmm.
But the way he related to the parents, knowing full well that he's the one who took their son, and putting on the, I hope you find him kind of look.
Yeah. Thank you, Fred.
Yeah, that's the terrifying. Like when you talked about that earlier, it reminded me of Shane Meadows talking about, he made Dead Man Shoes, and this is England, I think. So he was talking about growing up around skinheads, and he talked about one incident he saw when he was a kid where this guy that was kind of the head of the skinhead guys, they beat the shit out of this guy that was part of their group. They just beat the fuck out of him. Then he grabbed him and went, "Are you all right, man? You okay, buddy?" Like all of a sudden he was nurturing him, but he like, you just beat the shit out of this guy. But like that switch of, I almost killed this guy, but now I'm like, "Are you okay, buddy? You're like that switch of, this guy's a sociopath. Like there's nothing really there. Like
that makes you wonder what's going on in her head, and that's what I was thinking when I'm watching that scene. Roberto is like, what's going on in his head, because he knows what happened. But like, what's he thinking as he's like you said, nurturing this family who's at the diner crying about, you know, their missing son? Why are they at the diner?
I think he is internally delighted in the fact that he has pulled the wool over this family's eyes. I think that it's exciting for him, not necessarily sexually exciting, but just like the thrill of the kill, kind of, you know, you have absolutely no fucking idea that I'm the one who took your kid.
Exactly. Total power.
Yeah.
And total, like, that's because people say, why does Freddy confess in your movie? I'm like, because he wants to tell somebody what he's fucking gotten away with.
Yeah.
But he has a plan to get out of it. But he is enjoying finally verbalizing, I did this to you all. Right. I created all this pain for you. And that's what you do in that scene. You know what they don't know. Right. And inside you're like, you feel amazing. Right. That's what you want to tell them. I did it, you know, but you're saying that in your head and you're living. Yeah. So, yeah.
And then he goes right back to having ice cream with his daughter. Yeah.
Well, is that the celebratory ice cream after the kill? Is that what that is?
No, it was just, you know, that kill was one day, and he took his little souvenir from the little boy Mikey, and then the next day, Catherine wanted ice cream in the movies, so there they were in the diner. You know,
it's a nice day out.
Dad.
Well, and that's like with our film. You know, I always kind of imagine the epilogue of he wanted to tell this story and he wanted to revel in it, and then he destroys the tapes. And in my mind, the scene right after they come in and they're like, you know, of course the fire, and they're like, but he confessed to it, and then in my mind he's just like, confessed to what? You know?
He hit me, man.
He hit me in the face. I don't know what you're talking
Yeah.
Your Freddy had that plan in the back of his head to dump all the evidence, and mine just kept saying during his interview, every time Thompson would say something to him, I would just kind of answer and go, allegedly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you know he knows, but you're like, I'm not going to give it to you.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give it to you. Yeah.
I always got people saying to me, well, Thompson's a really bad cop. How could he possibly use his daughter, you know, to get a confession out of a killer? I'm like, well, look at the first movie. He uses Nancy all the time. You know, he uses her to get Rod to come out.
He does.
Actually. So, you know, so here he is. Here's a picture of my daughter. Now tell me what confess to me, and just
because he wants to catch him bad.
Yeah. But he also probably has that in his head, though, like, it's my daughter and you're not going to get anywhere near her kind of deal.
And I always kind of felt that's why part of the divorce was that he was so obsessed with catching Freddy. He was always at work. He was neglecting his family, which you kind of feel in the first movie. So I think he just really wanted Freddy bad. I think he wanted to catch this guy because this has been like 5 years of death of children, and people are just he's ready to have the guy in his hands, and he's got you, and he knows it's you.
It became personal. He did what every cop shouldn't do. He made his work personal because it affected his personal life, because he let it affect as a person.
Yeah. That's why I kept him out of it, because my instinct was to have it be Donald interviewing him. I was like, it's going to be a superior. They're going to keep Donald out of there. That's why he bursts in, because I'm like, Donald will just put a gun in his head, shoot him, like, at that point. Because in my story, like, in my version, it was like a deleted scene of Freddy killed his firstborn and Glenn's older sibling and Tina's older sibling. So they're not letting Donald in that room at all, because he'll kill Freddy.
I'm glad you didn't do that, because there have been enough comparisons between our two films. So since Donald was the cop in the room with me, I'm glad you didn't do it with Kevin, because you know, this whole fake feud between the two camps just would have been even worse at that point. Oh, you did this one, they did that in 2011, and then blah blah blah. And I'm like, can't you guys just enjoy the two films?
It's so funny about that, because I wrote it, like, I think you all had that one out when I wrote it, but I hadn't seen it, because the first one I saw was the second one on the playground, which seemed like the one that really took off for you guys.
It's the most popular one.
Yeah, that's the one that was like everywhere, and everybody's talking about you, and I was like, oh, this guy damn, he does look like Robert. And I hadn't seen the original, the first one, because you didn't have numbers or anything. It was just kind of subtitles. Right. So I had no idea that it even existed. And then when we were like a month or two away from filming, and the guy that made it was Desmond, I can't remember, he made those other Nightmare movies. He talked about watching our films because we set the bar and all that. Well, I was like, well, Roberto and Chris set the bar for Nightmare fan films, so let me go back and watch these because I only watched them once. I was like, so I watched the trailer and I saw at the end of the trailer, you're sitting there with the cup in the interrogation room. I went, what the fuck is that? What?
No.
And I'm like, because I hadn't seen that one. And I went, what? And so I went and looked at the page and I was like, they fucking did an interrogation episode. I'm like, so I started to get like, what, should I do this? Because they're gonna think I just stole it. And but then I got like, you know what? I've already spent money. We've already got this ready. I'm making it. You know.
But think logically here. How could there not be an interrogation scene in both films?
Yeah.
How could there not be? You know, Thompson's a main character. Well, in the series, in the canon series, he's a main character. He's a cop. Freddy's committing a crime. He's gonna get arrested. The name of your film is The Confession of Fred Krueger. How can there not be an interrogation scene in either film?
Because that's what I wanted. I wanted Freddy to tell his story. And so I was like, do we do him in a cell telling his cellmate? Nah, that's not good. There needs to be a conflict. There needs to be a back and forth. There needs to be an enemy across from him. And so the interrogation, like I felt if I'm going to do one scene, because I didn't want to write a feature, I'm going to do one scene, that's the best option. That's the scene I want to see. Like if I went and saw a prequel, that's the scene I'm waiting to see, because it's Freddy one-on-one with another guy, which I love conversation. I love Mickey Knox's interview in Natural Born Killers with Wayne Gale. I love John Doe talking to Somerset and Mills in Seven. I love that in film where you get, De Niro and Pacino and Heat talking back and forth. Like when you get two actors just going back and forth, I live for that. And so that's why I did it. So like you said, that's just part of the process of that's going to be in any prequel.
Yeah.
It's just parallel thinking. It's not somebody, I would never rip off another fan film. So it's like, so that was the part that was really hard to swallow when that started to happen, where people started assuming that. And then even little coincidences, like you say pretty please when you want the picture, and Kevin says pretty please with a cherry on top. And then like, oh, well, guys come in and pull people off of Freddy. I'm like, well, that's where you're going to head. You got to have a tension breaker. You got to have a violent conclusion to like what? Like my cop just supposed to get out and walk out. And like, there's no climax or no, physical thing. So it's like this weird thing where it's like, we were just thinking alike. We were just, and so, yeah, there was like where I discovered it right before we filmed it. And I went, and I did have a moment where I thought, shit, they're going to turn this into something I don't want it to be, because I just wanted to tell my story. And I'm thankful we did it. And I'm thankful that we both took different routes. You did the Family Guy version. I did the Drifter version. Because my whole thing was I wanted to take it back to the Freddy that I fell in love with in those first couple movies that had gotten away from us. And that's really where I wanted to take it. And I read Jeffrey Cooper's short story in 1988 in The Nightmare Companion about the Freddy's origin. And that specifically that scene where he kills a boy in the alleyway and gets the idea for the glove. I wanted to see that. That was kind of the thing. So it's just one of those weird things where it's like, man, it's going to come. I knew it was coming, but I wouldn't take it back. And I'm glad that
it didn't come from us though. Because a lot of people with that rivalry thing, they're just like, oh, Babe Wright doesn't say they ripped you off. And I'm like, no, they didn't. I mean, I just like, come on, they made a film, we made a film, enjoy it. It's not, stop trying to pit people against each other.
They're different enough to where it doesn't look like anybody ripped anybody off also. And I don't understand why we can't just enjoy, like you said, enjoy both films. I mean, there's a lot different stuff. If you put, like I said, like the supercut, if you put them all together, Nate's focuses on the confession, there's a lot more going on in the Kruger series, and you get a little bit more. I mean, you see some of that in Confession, but they're different enough. People need to stop complaining and just enjoy themselves.
Stop comparing.
Exactly.
I'll read, I'll see comments every now and then, oh, Roberto's better than that. And I'm like, do they realize that we have talked to each other, and online? Like, we should really, if you're ever in the Midwest, we should do a photo op together and just blow people's minds.
Hey, Horror Hound 2021. We're planning a trip. Come on, guys, let's do it.
Honestly, I've been planning to go to Horror Hound for a while, so I'd really like to go to Horror Hound. So if you guys are there, I'm totally up for that whole thing.
Make history.
Cool.
Two Freddys in one place.
That could be cool.
And if Robert's there, it would be even better.
That would be insane.
We'll set that up.
Yeah. I know a guy.
He would look at us like we're crazy and be like, okay.
No, Robert probably knows who you are. Robert's seen your film, right?
Yeah, I handed a copy to him at the show where we premiered it at, because he was going to come. He told somebody that he was maybe going to come to the screening, and he did. And Mark Patton and Joseph Whip came, but he didn't make it. But I ended up handing him a copy of it next day.
Any feedback?
Lito, who worked on Never Sleep Again, heard that he said it was really well done. So I haven't never. If I saw I've seen Robert since, I would never bring it up. I wouldn't like, hey, what you think? Because I just don't want to force myself on anybody like that. Yeah. So I'm really So to me it took a lot just for me to hand it to him and say here, because I didn't want to cross a line, because you don't know how he feels about that part. What he feels like a fan making a film, but again, it's a love letter. It's actually in you're responsible for my career. I became a horror artist because of Nightmare on Elm Street. I became a filmmaker because of it.
Not Robert.
He'll be very gracious. He wouldn't have a problem with that. There's one of the fans gave him a copy of Kruger. She bounced it down and gave him a copy of it. Actually handed it to Nancy, to his wife, and I know he watched it. And because later on I had she paid for a photo op, but she wanted me in the picture with her and Robert. And when I walked in, he looked at me and said, "I know who you are." I'm like, "Oh, okay."
You need a stunt double?
And that's where it really kind of hit me too, because I look at the picture now and I'm like, I am never going to get away from, I grew a beard because everybody said I looked too much like Robert, and I grew the beard and now I look even more like Robert. Blessing, curse, blessing, curse, blessing, curse. So
I don't think it's a bad thing. He's a great guy to look like. I'm sure. I mean, what did you guys say? Somebody told me I looked like Ice Cube the other day. I don't know if it's a very bad thing.
The Predator era.
So
anyway, I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. I really appreciate you guys taking some time to be on the show and sharing so much. And like I said before, get on YouTube, check out, just type in Kruger fan film, or what's the page?
Blinky 5,000.
500.
That'll take you to all he's got like 1,000 fan films. Not just the Kruger ones. Well, I mean, he does. He gets these ideas and just runs with them, doesn't he? Yeah, he pretty much does.
Yes, he does.
Which is not a bad thing, not at all.
I mean, at least he's doing it.
For it. Yeah, exactly. But the Kruger ones are on there, and they're great to watch. And Roberto really just kills it in the role. Check those out, and definitely check out The Confession of Fred Krueger. I know we've shared it a few times. Nate.
We live streamed it.
Under the Table. We did live stream it. That's right, with Never Hike Alone. But again, thanks guys for being on. You guys, anybody have anything before we shut down for the evening? You guys want to say anything?
I mean, it was a good show. I wasn't really sure where this show was going to go. Fine, Ray.
I'm joking.
I wasn't sure where this episode was going to go, but I like where it went. Like, because I'm thinking about trying to shoot something next year, so I like getting all this feedback from people doing smaller stuff and just
I can
picking
set
up
you
little
up with
tidbits.
PJ Starks. He knows a bit or two about making movies. Hey, Seth, do you have anything you want to add to this?
No, just thank you guys for coming on. You guys were great to listen to. You guys both seem very humble and just really down to earth, and this was just a good conversation. I didn't say anything, but you guys were.
Jared, you awake?
I'm awake.
He's just basking.
No, I mean it's great having you guys on because you guys both played different, renditions of the character, and it's kind of nice to hear you guys spitball about the ideas that you guys, had when you were, emulating the character. And it was really fun talk, guys. Thanks for being on tonight.
For having us.
Yeah. Now, do you guys want to plug anything before we? Because Nate's long-winded, so I save him for last usually.
I'm not gonna get it. I got to hit out. But like I'll just say real quick, I got to leave. But love both you guys. Glad you came on. It's. I told people, it's like I just want to show. The more examples we can show of the piece that we have is great. And like that's the thing. It's like, as Roberto has said many times, you got two films to watch. You got two performances to watch. You can enjoy it all. You don't have to choose. Everybody's always about which is better. It's like they're both good. They're both good performances. They both give you different performances. Appreciate both of them for what they are, and
choose both.
It doesn't have to be a
make a
fight.
Choice, choose both.
Because we all have mutual respect for each other and what we did, and there you go. I mean, that's enjoy it. That's why we made it. Yeah. But I gotta go, guys. Thank you again.
See you, Nathan.
Hey, Nathan.
Thanks, Nate.
Yep.
Yeah. If you guys have anything you want to say before we go, we're gonna cut off here in a minute. Kevin, you got anything last thoughts or anything you want to say?
Not off the top of my head. If people want to catch me and other things, like I said, if you Google my name, I'll probably pop up in some YouTube films, short things I've done. I was in Harvest Lake. That's on Tubi.
Oh yeah,
that was a fun
movie.
A weird movie, but a lot of fun. And then Scott Schirmer also did The Bad Man, and I don't think that's streaming anywhere. I'm not sure.
Not yet. He did a Kickstarter. I got it on Blu-ray.
Yeah, I actually I have not watched it yet. So
weird.
I'm supposed to get together with David Bunnell, who was our cinematographer for Freddy, our Confessions, and we're gonna watch it together because I was in the damn thing and I read the script and was like, it's a bit much for me. I don't really want to watch it for myself.
I mean, that's Scott Schirmer though.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. He's good, but he's weird. Yeah, Roberto, what about you, man? You got anything you want to plug?
When we get back to filming again, look for Visceral, look for Haunted City. If you want to keep up with what I'm doing, I'm easily findable. You can Google me. I'm either going to be on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. I always update things that I'm doing on there, or you can just look me up on IMDb. There's a lot of short films on there, or YouTube as well. And I do answer when you call. But don't call. Well, I will answer you if you write to me. So.
I'm a little more hesitant. Again, super big introvert here, so I mean like nothing by it. I love the fans, but I'm such an awkward person in real life. But I also another weird plug, and this is like I'm plugging theater, but if you look up, I'm from here. I'm giving too much information. I'm from Evansville, Indiana. And my theater company, the Evansville Civic Theater, the last 2 shows of our season, we're live streaming them once we can get the cast together. And so like technically it's supposed to be just local people, but there's nothing to stop anybody from anywhere in the world buying tickets and watching it. And I directed one, I was in the other. Well, now I'm in both of them because we lost some people. So they're not horror, but definitely an opportunity for people to see me play something very, very different.
Well, that's a good thing. And you're going to be in Nate's new movie too, On a Dark and Bloody Ground.
Yeah.
Yeah. Looking forward to that getting to resume shooting. Anyway, thanks again, guys. We really do appreciate it. Maybe we can have you on sometime again. Just talk the actual Nightmare movies. That'd be fun.
That'd be great.
We didn't really get into that. Again, go to YouTube, check out Krueger, this entire series. Check out Confession of Fred Krueger. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. You guys are awesome. You really are.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
And we'll see you guys next week. Whoever's watching. Go